Hello, everybody. It is episode 174 of Recotopia. My name is Chris Atkinson, joined by Aaron Dicer.
Hidely ho, Cooperinos.
That's right. And also joining us, Jeremy Scott.
Hi, everybody.
That's right. Today's big recommend will be Valkyrie. We would like to also welcome chat who have come out here to watch us talk about movies on a Thursday. We had some shenanigans last week.
Oh man, there were shenanigans.
Aaron had so much shenanigans going on.
I had some bad pizza shenanigans. Yeah, it was.
That'll get you every time.
Yeah, it got me all the times. Yep,
that's right. But yes, thank you, chat, for coming out. We will get us started with some small recommends, and I'll kick us off with a movie that I am not the biggest martial arts expert guy. I have a ton of movies in my Blu-ray library that I haven't seen, but I have bought over the years that I want to catch up to at some point. But there is a big, huge Criterion collection of Once Upon a Time in China, which has, I believe, 6 movies in its I think it's 6. There's 5, and then there's one that's called Once Upon a Time in China and America. This movie came out in 1991. Jet Li, I believe, had already become a star in Asia, but this was the one that sort of set off a slew of martial arts films in the 90s. And you got Jet Li and Jackie Chan, all these big stars started coming out of at that point. This movie is about, I think it's in the 19th century. China is sort of being divided up by all the Western powers of the world. You have the clear villains of Great Britain and the USA in this movie. They have come in and they've just been dividing sections of China, and people in China are welcoming this, and so there's fighting inside of China itself amongst the Chinese. So basically with that setup, everything is about, like, challenging power and trying to I don't know. Everything is about challenging power and then getting into fights over it, and big, huge, spectacle fights. And Jet Li, there's one scene in here with an umbrella that I love to death in this thing. I don't know if this is what Jet Li was known for, but it reminded me very much of Jackie Chan type stuff, where he'd take a prop and it would just be the thing all the way through a fight and everything. Again, I'm no expert. Most people know, what the Jet Li fighting style is and how that distinguishes him. But anyway, if you just want to see some good old fashioned martial arts movie with a really good story to it as well, this is a good one. Once Upon a Time in China.
I'm excited to check it out. I know it is streaming, right, on Prime, I think.
I don't know. I have this on a disc, so I watched it on that, but it could be streaming on Prime. Yeah, it could be on Criterion too.
I ran out of time to watch the whole thing, but I did fire it up and watch like the first 10, 15 minutes. And the one thing I noticed right off the bat was the scope. Like, it feels like there's a really big scope to, there were so many actors like doing martial arts on a beach. I was like, oh, this is gonna be a really big movie. Does it kind of keep that feel throughout and go big with a lot of its stuff?
Yeah, and there's another guy, I'm not sure of his name. He was another legend coming into this movie. Then of course the movie is building up to the fight between them in a big warehouse at the end, and it's really, really, it's awesome too. But yeah, it's the scale of these movies are always to the point, like, they do a really good job of telling you what the geopolitical nature of everything is, right, before leading into what are just, hit some fun kung fu fights and things like that are going on,
right?
But they sort of give you a reason for why these things are happening. Whereas, a lot of times I think a lot of times action movies, they condense that story to something very simple and whatever, but this one's got a global scale to it. So yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
What do you got, Jeremy?
Yeah. My wife for 2 years has been trying to get me to watch this movie with her. My wife never recommends movies to me. This is maybe the second time she's ever tried to get me to watch a movie with her. The first time was The Last Unicorn, and that did not go well. Somehow she came across this movie called The Retrieval back in the mid 20-teens. And we struggled for years to find it, even to rent. But finally, a couple of weeks ago, we found it. I can't even tell you where. I don't know where. We found it. We could rent it. We watched it. And I had never heard of it before. I've never heard of the person that wrote and directed it. It appears to be the last movie he ever made. And actor-wise, the only person I recognized was the character who plays Will. That's Ashton Sanders, and he's in Moonlight. So this is a Civil War story about two slaves, Will and his uncle Marcus, and they are being used by the slave bosses to find and point out and help bring back runaway slaves. So they are marginally treated better than a standard slave, but they are still treated really, really poorly. And their boss, owner, his name is Burrell, and basically he comes to them with a mission. There's a man named Nate. He's a runaway slave who's up in the north. They have new information about where he might be. He killed someone in the south before he left, and there's a bounty on his head, and Burrell wants that money. So he sends Will and Marcus to the north to lie to Nate, tell him that his brother in the south is dying and wants to see him, and then the three of them travel south where they are intended to be ambushed by Burrell and his gang. This is a quiet, confident, powerful movie. I was blown away. I told my wife immediately to start recommending more movies to me. This has a lot to say about the power of father figures and that relationship, the murkiness of moral right and wrong, how you can have positive relationships with people who have done bad things, redemption. I can't say enough about it. It's so well acted. The score is incredible. Somehow this movie was made, released, got plenty of accolades. It's 90 something on Rotten Tomatoes, and I never heard of it ever. And then it comes across my timeline, and now I feel like I'm gonna be talking about this movie for the rest of my life and watching it fairly regularly. I was really, really, really blown away. So if you are able to find it and watch it, I highly recommend it. It's called The Retrieval.
Yeah, over in chat, they're saying Canopy and Kino Film. Kino Lorber has been a big, huge physical media group that has started doing streaming, and much like Criterion has been doing. So yeah, it looks like Canopy and Kino both have this movie.
Yeah, I haven't wasn't able to find it, get it watched, but it definitely looks like something that I would enjoy as well. So yeah, good stuff.
Yep.
Well, I decided today, in light of Chris recommending a 1990s epic martial arts film with geopolitical themes and all this going on, and Jeremy recommending this 19th century father-son redemptive journey kind of film that I also wanted to be deep and meaningful. So I'm going to recommend the new Lilo and Stitch.
I thought you were about to say The Naked Gun.
Could have done that. Could have done that as well. Could have done that as well. And probably should have. But I will tell you this. I am fairly open-minded to these Disney remakes when I feel like they have some sort of purpose to them. Like I feel like they're changing something or doing something a little bit different. I thought there were things in the Aladdin remake that were really valuable and important and I really liked. I thought there was some stuff in the Beauty and the Beast remake that I thought was really good. But then when they're like the Lion King one and it's just exactly the same movie and nothing changes, I just zone out. Like it's pretty to look at and that kind of stuff. And I went into this expecting more Lion King than those others and was pleasantly surprised. Now, maybe this is because I actually don't really care for the original Lilo and Stitch. It came a little bit after I was, that age to be super into Disney movies, which is funny for me to say because I'm still super into Disney movies. But it was one of those things that I watched and I was like, I don't vibe with this. I'm not quite following the Ohana means family thing seems weird to me when you are not the best caregiver to this child. Like you are, it's one of those things where I just came away from it with a lot of questions and not enjoying it. And this one kind of fixes a lot of that stuff. It's also really, really fun. The two main actors, Sydney, I'm going to say Agudong, who plays Nani, the older sister, and Miaya Keolaha, I'm going to say, plays Lilo. They are both amazing. They are so well cast. They are so fun. This little girl is a joy to watch on screen. The Stitch character is surprisingly well integrated into the live action. It's still weird that people are saying that this is a dog. I don't understand what kind of mass delusion is going on here, but it is really interestingly rendered. And I think Billy Magnuson and Zach Galifianakis as the two aliens that chase them around are so funny. So I had an entertaining time with this. I had some fun with this. And I've come to find out I am way in the minority on the ending. Not to spoil things, I loved the change that happens at the end of this. I think that this movie needed that change, where I think most fans of the original think it ruins the movie, from what I understand. And I am in complete opposition to that. Without spoiling anything, I think the change at the end had to happen for this movie to really work. So, and makes it work even more for me. So I had a really good time with Lilo and Stitch, and so I thought I'd bring it up.
I'm really glad that this movie is better than Lilo and Stitch. Stitch has a glitch. I'm really glad about that. That's really exciting for me.
That's the important thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
that one, that movie's god awful. Oh my god.
Terrible.
Oh man,
Yes.
when you start your movie with a rhyming title, you've already lost.
Yep. All right, let's get on to our big recommend, which is Valkyrie. And this was my choice. And so I will start us off. Here we go. Valkyrie is a 2008 film co-written by Christopher McQuarrie and directed by Bryan Singer, which is a Usual Suspects reunion. Nathan Alexander gets a co-writing credit on this, but he doesn't have any other writing credits aside from an episode of a TV show called The Code. So I looked at Wikipedia and I was like, why did this guy get on the writing? And it said Christopher McQuarrie wanted him to be on the writing of this. And I was like, but why? The movie begins with people shouting the German loyalty oath to Hitler. Then we see Colonel Klaus von Stauffenberg, and boy, am I going to mess up names in this. You thought you had some problems with the names in Lilo and Stitch, Aaron. I'm going to mess these up quite often. So all you German people out there, sorry. Colonel Klaus von Stauffenberg, played by Tom Cruise, writing a letter in German, which we hear as narration until it John McTiernan's into English. Klaus is writing about being driven by more than fighting for his country. In the face of the mass extermination of the Jews, he's driven by saving lives. And he can't find any generals who have the courage to confront Hitler. He is surrounded by people who haven't quite figured out that this Hitler guy is kind of terrible and is the enemy of not only the free world, but of Germany itself. World War II is clearly coming to a close because the Allies are advancing quickly. And Klaus is visited by a general played by Bernard Hill, who gives him clearly futile battle plans in the North African theater. Klaus tells the general they'll need these soldiers when Berlin is attacked. We can serve Germany or the Fuhrer, not both. Klaus gives the general a ruse about a low water supply to serve as cover for their retreat, which the general accepts. Not too long after that, they are attacked by Allied planes, which Klaus barely survives. On the German Eastern Front in Russia, Hitler, played by David Bamber, visits his military brass. Major General Henning von Tresco, played by Kenneth Branagh, is trying to rig a bottle of Cointreau with explosives, or Cointreau. He hands it to Colonel Heinz Brandt, played by Tom Hollander, who is happy to take it on Hitler's departing plane. They wait for news, but eventually hear that his plane safely landed. He calls Brandt to tell him that he gave them the wrong package and he'll be in Berlin shortly to pick it back up. In Berlin, he runs into General Friedrich Ulbricht, played by Bill Nighy, who feels like they've been found out because one of their conspirators have been arrested by the Gestapo. After a somewhat tense scene where Brandt brings out the Cointreau package and asks if Tresco wants a drink, Von Tresco manages to talk his way out of it and takes it away. He then asks Ulbricht to find a replacement for their arrested friend and that it might take looking outside of Berlin to find that person. Klaus is visited in the hospital by the Red Witch, which will have so many ramifications for season 6 of Game of Thrones. Nah, it's just his wife, played by Carice Van Houten. Klaus has lost his right hand, fingers on his left hand, and his left eye. We don't see much of her, however, as the movie moves on to his meeting with Ulbricht, who is there to recruit him. Klaus knows that if he accepts, his actions would make him a traitor, which he accepts. His worry is for his family if the plot fails. At the conspirator meeting, there is an argument about the best way to confront Hitler after the Cointreau bomb didn't work. One of the men seems to think that simply forcing him out of power is the best solution, to which the newbie of the group, Klaus, asks, what happens once Hitler is removed? Do you got a plan for that? Do you think you'd be able to control the military after Hitler's gone? They seem confident that they can, which makes the very skeptical Klaus decide he's not needed. Knowing that the loyalty oath extends beyond Hitler, he discusses the power vacuum with Von Tresco, who also seems singularly focused on one goal without truly considering the next steps. But Von Tresco asks Klaus to figure something out. At home with the wife and kids, the kids put on a record of Ride of the Valkyries, a popular tune from all the Apocalypse Now stands in 1942. This moment is broken up by bombing outside, and they go down into a bomb shelter to wait it out. The song, still audible from above, inspires Klaus to bring the conspirators the idea of Operation Valkyrie, Hitler's emergency army that is to be deployed if he is cut off or killed. Klaus asked the room to think about a situation in which the SS is trying to overthrow Hitler. High Command would have no choice but to declare an emergency, which would cause the reserve army to attack the SS. While that happens, the conspirators can put a new government in place, but this can only work if Hitler is actually dead. Also, Operation Valkyrie would need to be rewritten so that the SS would be excluded from it. Being able to get the new orders out to the people of power would also be a difficult task, as the new orders would be evidence of treason and it would require Hitler's signature. Then they'd have to turn a career Nazi named General Friedrich Fromm, who's in control of the backup army, into a willing stooge. With the time running out, they think they can turn him based on his dissatisfaction with his lack of promotions. At this point, you might be quite right that Tom Cruise has somehow hired Bryan Singer to direct a new Mission Impossible without the branding. Klaus and Ulbricht visit Fromm, played by Tom Wilkinson. Everybody's Tom in this, by the way. There's so many Toms in this movie. Fromm knows Klaus is critical of the war, but Klaus counters that he's only critical of indecision, specifically from Germany's leaders. Fromm asks what kind of thing he has in mind to fix the situation, and he says rash action. When Fromm asks what kind of rash action, Klaus takes a swing for the fences and says that's up to the supreme military commander, second only to the chancellor. Fromm understands that what he's getting at and tells Klaus that if he were such a man, the war would be going differently. But he also reminds them of their oath to Hitler before removing what seems to be a bug from his phone. He then tells them that he's going to forget this conversation, to never bring it up again in this building, and that as long as Hitler is alive, Fromm intends to stand by his oath, which says a lot without coming out and fully saying it. At a club, Klaus sets up a clandestine meeting in a bathroom with General Erich Feldgiebel, played by Eddie Izzard. The general reminds Klaus how close he is to Hitler and how much danger he's in by approaching him in this way, but Klaus doesn't seem fazed. When Eric warns him again about contacting him, Klaus basically blackmails him with the very fact that he's already broken his oath by not reporting him in the first place. Klaus tells Eric that the actions taking place are inevitable, and that if he helps, he can potentially avoid the infamy of being on the wrong side when he does. While rewriting Operation Valkyrie, Tresco tells Klaus he has been sent to the front, so now Klaus is in charge of the military operation of the plan. Tresco reminds Klaus that there can be no conflicting orders once Valkyrie begins, which requires cutting off all communication after the operation is underway. Klaus has an idea of who can help, referring us, the audience, to General Eric, but says it's probably better if he doesn't tell Tresco who it is. In the next scene, Ulbricht tells Klaus he's been promoted to the Chief of Staff of the Reserve Army, which is a job the Reich is giving him without knowing, of course, about his Operation Valkyrie plans. Although Klaus initially rejects the promotion, Ulbricht tells him they need him to do this because it gets him closer to Hitler, which will give them more information that they'll need. He then tells Klaus he has an adjutant outside who comes highly recommended, a Lieutenant Werner von Heften, played by Jamie Parker. Klaus, knowing there's no time to fuck around, tells the lieutenant he's engaging in high treason, and Klaus asks if he's on board with that. Luckily, he is. They go to Hitler's private residence to give him a presentation, which Colonel Brandt wants to review before they go in, but General Fromm puts the kibosh on that. Inside the inner sanctum, Hitler praises Klaus for all he's sacrificed for the country. Klaus needs Hitler to sign the new Operation Valkyrie documents with the ruse that they are here to get a signature for new operations in Normandy. Hitler denies they even need to change anything in Normandy, so he declines. So Klaus, not one to fuck around, asks him if he'll sign off on the new plans for Operation Valkyrie, expecting him not to read it too carefully. Hitler is easily impressed with Klaus's knowledge of Wagner in the new document and signs it without any questions. The next part of the plan is to get a tutorial on how to make explosives from Colonel Mertz von Quirnheim, played by Christian Berkel. The bomb, the colonel suggests, is somewhat complicated, and he gives them an estimate of 30 minutes before the bomb goes off, but perhaps 10 to 15 with all the heat at the wolf's lair, giving them a very imprecise amount of time. The colonel expects the small bomb to work like gangbusters, given the parameters of Hitler's bunker. The way it's structured makes explosions more lethal. A plan is made that even if Hitler does survive, Valkyrie will still be initiated. General Eric, the man he met in the bathroom, will cut off the communication once it's underway. That will give them the time they need to overtake the government. Ulbricht adds a difficult wrinkle to the plan, though. He wants Himmler to be killed in the blast as well, and only proceed if they can get both him and Hitler. Klaus, suspecting one of the political conspirators added that wrinkle, will only agree to this if the decision is unanimous, but only as long as they appoint someone who's not a politician to the board. Klaus indicates Colonel Mertz, the bomb guy. Ludwig Beck, played by Terence Stamp, reminds Klaus that this is a military operation and nothing ever goes to plan. Beck briefs the conspirators about how this is going to go down. Hitler has called a military meeting. Once everyone gets in the meeting, Klaus will begin the operation. After getting authorization, Klaus will set off the bomb and will ask Eric to cut off the communications. They assume Fromm will not go along, so Ulbricht, without Fromm's knowledge, will take over the reserve army and initiate Valkyrie, notifying all the district commanders that the SS is trying to pull off a coup. The reserve army, with orders in hand, will arrest all SS, Gestapo, and Nazi officials. By that time, Klaus will be in Berlin to take over the reserve army, and other conspirators will insert themselves into top positions and hopefully negotiate a truce with the Allies. Everyone will carry a yellow slip of paper to identify themselves as a member of the operation, which they will not have access to the perimeters without. At the beginning of the operation at the communications center, a curious message pops up saying Ulbricht is ordering the reserve army to go to all the districts. While this brings up questions at the Nazi outpost, it is considered to be a drill and it's allowed to go through. Although it's funny, once the order reaches one of the commanders, he's like, this better not be a drill. And with that, the reserve army is mobilized. On to the Wolf's Lair, where Klaus and Werner make it beyond all the checkpoints and inside with all the military types in the bunker. One of those guys takes Klaus's briefcase as a matter of courtesy and sticks it under a table with a bunch of other briefcases, which means don't be surprised when that briefcase gets taken by mistake. Fromm begins a debriefing. Werner reminds Klaus that Himmler isn't there, which I'm sure he knows, but maybe the audience doesn't. Klaus steps out to call Ulbricht and asks if he can proceed without Himmler. They call Beck, who says no, and that is relayed to Klaus. Klaus asks Colonel Mertz over the phone what he thinks, and he says yes. Any loophole you can find, I guess. The bomb briefcase is indeed taken by someone else once the meeting moves to another room, but that's just a bit of false tension because one of the Nazis gives Klaus the bag once he finds him. However, the plan's derailment due to Himmler's absence is felt immediately. Fromm gets wind of the reserve army mobilization and calls it off, saying it was a drill. He yells at Ulbricht and Klaus for doing it behind his back, saying he nearly lost his commission over it. A whole lot of blaming starts going on at conspirator headquarters. Ulbricht laments that they may not be able to call a truce with the Allies if they make it to Berlin before they carry out the plan. Klaus blames the failure on politics, with the idea that adding Himmler to the mix has made the operation impossible. This leads to the politician Karl wanting to relieve Klaus of his duties. Beck steps in, telling him that the chief of police has issued a warrant for Karl's arrest. He'll have to leave Germany until they can do the operation and make him chancellor. Beck gives Klaus full discretion. Ulbricht says he won't be able to mobilize the reserve army again unless they follow through this time. On the day of the second attempt, Klaus nicks himself shaving and the blood is visible on his collar. This allows him to ask for a place to change without being suspicious. Klaus then gets down in the bunker to find out the meeting has been moved up because Hitler is going to have lunch with Mussolini. Klaus asks Eric to notify him of any phone call he gets, even if he's in a meeting with Hitler. They then go inside the changing room to assemble the bomb. In the middle of it, they are interrupted by a nosy soldier who is informing them that Hitler is in the briefing. Things start getting rushed. Nonetheless, the bomb is armed. Klaus asks Werner to go ahead and get the car. Once again, nosy guy picks up the briefcase as they approach the bunker, but Klaus finds out the meeting room has been changed to a place that might not have the proper physics to blow up the way they need it to. This place has open windows and more opportunity for the blast to direct its energy in other places. Klaus requests to be sat as close to Hitler as possible under the ruse that his war injuries have left him hard of hearing. Klaus gets the briefcase and positions it as close as he can. This meeting is a debrief on heavy losses being sustained. Klaus gets notified of his phone call. He gets the message he needs, leaving the briefcase behind. Colonel Brandt moves it to a slightly different place under the table. The bomb explodes, and Klaus gets into a vehicle with Werner and a random soldier, telling that soldier to drive. The plan is in motion, with Eric calling Ulbricht and Mertz and telling them that Hitler is, something. Anyway, he cuts off the communications after that. Ulbricht and Mertz don't know if Hitler is dead or not, and they also can't call back to confirm. Mertz thinks they should start Valkyrie anyway, but Ulbricht says they can't go without Fromm's orders. Mertz tells Ulbricht to tell him Hitler is dead or arrest Fromm because time is of the essence, but Ulbricht freezes. Klaus gets stopped at the checkpoint, trying to invoke Hitler's orders to get them to open the gate. He is refused, so he goes to a phone to call someone, which of course is a ruse. He pretends to get a higher up on the phone and even bluffs that the checkpoint guy won't check the phone to confirm. On the way out, they throw out evidence from the car, and the rando driver dude knows they're up to something. He drives them to a waiting plane and gives them such a sneering. The reserve army gets another standby alert from a rogue Mertz. The delay causes a problem with Klaus and Werner's getaway car in Berlin after the plane lands. Klaus calls Ulbricht and tells them to fuck his own face. Klaus asks him if Fromm is with them, but no one has spoken to Fromm. Klaus now tells Ulbricht if he wants to survive, he will need to initiate Valkyrie under Fromm's name. If he doesn't join them, arrest him. Ulbricht then officially starts Valkyrie. The news creates quite the scene in the communications room as all the women receiving messages on their machines raise their hands to get a supervisor to confirm them. The reserve army gets their orders. Back at Fromm's office, Fromm wants to know if it's confirmed that Hitler is dead. Fromm calls the Wolf's Lair, and he finds out that he is not. Field Marshal Keitel asks where Klaus is since he left his hat in the room, and let's face it, probably was responsible for that bomb that went off. He's even got sneering rando Nazi driver telling him what he saw, so Klaus is basically fucked if they find him. Klaus enters the room and announces Valkyrie is in effect, and that Ulbricht did it pretending to be Fromm. Fromm is given the ultimatum to join them, which he refuses, so they arrest him. Beck informs Klaus that the Berlin police will not interfere and gets confirmation from them in person. Then nearly everyone in on the plan joins in a small room to flash their yellow conspirator cards as a symbol of unity. He tells all of them that in 3 hours, no one from the Nazi government will be in power again. A series of phone calls to various power sections around the districts are made to ensure they are on board with what is going on. While they scramble to get the new government in place of the districts, they still don't quite have Berlin yet. After this, the communications center gets conflicting messages. One is from Klaus ordering the arrest of Goebbels. Another one is from the Wolf's Lair ordering the arrest of Klaus. A decision is made not to interpret the orders, just send them through, so they do. These orders make it to the Reserve Army commander, who decides he needs to figure out who the hell is actually in power before making a move. Goebbels is going to take a cyanide pill before getting arrested, but he holds it in his mouth while he tries to figure things out. He gets a direct call to Hitler when the Reserve Army major comes in to arrest him. Hitler speaks directly to the guy to confirm he's not dead and orders him to take all the traitors alive. At the communications place, the order goes out to take only communications from Wolf's Lair and to stop any communications from Klaus. Meanwhile, a clueless general walks into the conspirator headquarters demanding what the hell's going on. Klaus tells him all the appropriate lies, but this guy won't do anything unless he hears from General Fromm. Klaus informs him he's under arrest, but the general sees the treason and runs out, yelling, "The Fuhrer is not dead!" He is then arrested and taken to the same room Fromm is being held. Fromm gives a knowing wave to a lieutenant outside in the hallway. Meanwhile, it looks like the good guys are losing the districts that they had won hours ago. The operation has definitely failed. Klaus tries to get a new message about Hitler being dead out, but that, of course, has no chance in hell. Klaus doesn't understand how the bomb didn't work. He repeats to himself, "I saw the blast, and I know, Klaus, CinemaSins would have totally said Hitler survives this if this were a work of fiction." Shortly after, the conspirators realize that their lines have been cut. He can't figure out if his family is safe. It's time to go on the run. Klaus runs into Ulbricht getting arrested. A gun battle occurs in a hallway. Not long after that, Klaus is officially arrested. Fromm does an impromptu court-martial where he sentences the 6 arrested conspirators to death. Even though the Reserve Army major tells Fromm that his orders from Hitler to keep them alive, he gets a duly noted back in response. Beck, who requests a pistol, does the thing that they were going to do to him anyway. Sham trials are conducted for the other people who got caught later. Hitler gets on the radio to prove to everyone he's still alive. The 5 remaining people with Klaus are taken to a firing squad. We cut to Tresco in the middle of the woods where he pulls the pin of a grenade and puts it directly under his chin. We see a series of people getting executed. Werner walks in front of Klaus just before he's about to get shot to express solidarity, even in the last moments. Also, Klaus has to be the last one that gets shot. Hits Tom Cruise, right? So that's right. The way that goes. Klaus yells, "Long live sacred Germany," before he is shot while Fromm looks on. The punchline, Fromm is executed not too long after. Blurbs at the end tell us that the Valkyrie plot was the last of 15 known attempts on Hitler's life. He would, of course, die 9 months later. We get an update that Klaus's wife and family survived the war, and she died in 2006. Klaus von Stauffenberg is memorialized along with many others on the German Resistance Memorial in Berlin. And that's the movie. Guys, what did you think of Valkyrie?
I've seen this movie. This is my 3rd time, but it's been a long time. But the thing that stuck out to me this time is how visually scrumptious it is. Like the colors just pop, like especially when they're going through the forest. And there's an average movie would give you a little brown, a little green, and this movie gives you like 52 shades of. The colors just kept jumping out to me in every scene. And I hesitate to praise anything that Bryan Singer may have directly been involved in, although IMDb suggests that McQuarrie did plenty of ghost directing on this, days that Singer was late or not there. Man, this movie is good. This movie is good. It's tense, and it starts tense and only gets more tense. And this is one of those movies where, because it's a real story, even knowing the outcome, you still feel tension. Oddly, I'm going to compare it to Apollo 13 in that regard, in that you know how it works out, but knowing the end doesn't keep you from feeling every moment of tension as you go. I really like the way the film decided to have everybody speak in their normal accent instead of trying to emulate like a German accent speaking English. I think that would have been more distracting to me. And the way that the film starts out, having him read in German and then transition to English, I think sort of just gives you that Mick Tiernan kind of, okay, now we're going to be in English and it's no big whoop. Tom Cruise is really good in this. Again, I'm hesitant to heap praise on a Scientologist, but my favorite scene is the one you mentioned, Chris, where he gets introduced to his new assistant, tells him to close the door, and then basically says, I am in every waking moment of my life engaged in treason. Are you down? And the guy goes, yes, for anything. The whole thing ends right there. Like, there's several moments you mentioned, Chris, where he has to do a ballsy thing and hope that it works out. Like,
there's not enough time. I think a lot of times people forget about stuff like that when you're doing any kind of thing that is going. There's a lot of times people forget that, yes, it would be great if you had all these great all this circumstance that were in your favor, but they don't have the time here because they need to be on the right side when the allies come in, and that's happening quickly, and that's the reason why they have to work so fast on it.
Yeah, that opening scene is really great because you get what you need to know about Cruise's character, and that he's not super happy with the way the war is going, or even Hitler. But that is interrupted by a surprise attack, and it's a brief attack scene, but it's still shot really well. It's really awesome. And it just kicks off everything. It's, again, Brian Singer's bad, but this movie's good. I really liked it. I think Tom Cruise with curly hair is weird. Was my first note, and I'll just have to get over it. But anyway, those are my main thoughts. Aaron?
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said about what makes this movie entertaining and fun to watch. The tension specifically was something I really wanted to focus on, because there are 2 or 3 scenes where there is just expert level tensioning going on, and really great use of informational shots that last just long enough that you know what they mean, like the shot of the open windows, right? Like, we're in the midst of this change and we know what it means, and then there's a shot of open windows. Doesn't, have a character saying, oh, the windows are open, that means it's going to just put, like, it just expertly lets you feel what Tom Cruise's character is going through. I also noted the colors. I love the vividness of some of the artistic stuff going on here. I will say, when I first rated this movie after seeing it, I gave it 1 star out of 5. And and I think that's unfair, but I know where it comes from. And here's the comparison I'm going to use. I think this is, for me, the Greatest Showman of war movies. Now, what I mean by that is it is a movie that is expertly done, that is super entertaining. It is, the music in Greatest Showman is great, just like the directing is great here. But it takes a character from history. And again, I'm not going to claim to know everything, but it kind of changes everybody into a hero when it just wasn't that black and white like that. Like, there is plenty of evidence, as far as I understand it, that these assassination attempts weren't about Hitler's immorality. They were about his inadequacy. Much of it was about trying to take him out so somebody else could lead in a way that made more sense. Now, I'm sure for some people that was the human devastation element of it, was a big part of it. But there, at least in my reading and my understanding of this situation in particular, and especially Tom Cruise's character, who he's representing, he was not like a good dude, as we would say. You know what I mean? Like, so there's this element of taking a real life thing that is very meaningful, and then putting this gloss on it, this sheen on it, this action movie kind of idea on it, that works. Like, it's really fun to watch and really interesting, but it plays on a falsity of motive that just gets under my skin. It just gets under my skin a little bit. So that's probably where that came from. And again, I think that's an unfair rating. I think it'd be more fair to take this movie on its own terms and its own fiction and whatever. But it is really wonderfully made, and I really enjoy so much of it. It's just hard to get past the gloss that makes these men heroes when I'm not sure it was that simple.
You got to listen to this podcast about Valkyrie. They compared it to Apollo 13 and Greatest Showman.
And both, I think, made sense. I thought the Apollo 13...
I'm going to be as reductive about Aaron's opinion as he is of the movie that he compared it to. It's like this and The Untouchables. You just can't be a different character than you were in real life, or Aaron's gonna say no, not real. Can't do it.
Yeah, there's something, I don't know, there's something that's important to me about valorization in what it can do to, because then you have this changing of ideas of, you know, what morality looks like in humanity. And I think we just need to be more willing to accept gray in our characters, and just valorization is just, I don't know. There's something about it that, it gets under my skin a little bit.
Yeah. I think, we always have this debate, right, about commerce and art, and to try to sell this movie as, well, they weren't really about getting Hitler out because he was a bad guy. Right. How do you sell that to the public?
Right.
Probably can't. You can sell it to the local Belcourt Theater in Nashville if you want to.
Yes.
But you can't sell it to Regal Cinemas or anything like that. So that is a weird thing. And I agree. It's one of those things that if you do know the real story, that does detract a lot from it. If you really just like believe in, like, let's just tell the story with the warts and all and everything like that. And so, like, I totally get that and everything. And I think also you're saying, like, let's just not call this let's not call this Valkyrie. Let's not use the real names and all that.
Yeah.
Let's change everybody's names and say this and do Inglourious Bastards, basically. Let's just do that.
Yes.
Let's just do that. So I can totally see that too, because the movie still sells based on Tom Cruise and just all the people who are in it and everything. If you just call it something else and you just say it's based on a real story, but we really changed a lot so that you don't think this is a documentary or something like that.
Yeah.
So I totally understand that. Totally get it. So Greatest Showman it is. It is exactly that movie. Then a lot of times that we've been hearing, I've been seeing in the chat and some discussion about the use of people's real accents instead of trying to do a German accent and everything. And I love this philosophy. I love that they did it this way. This was something that was kind of brought up when Chernobyl came out, where all the actors and everything were told, just go with your normal accent. It's not like you're taken out of the reality of it just because you're not speaking in that weird John Malkovich Russian accent or whatever and everything. And so Chernobyl took a cue from a movie called Citizen X, which hopefully one day I'll have a chance to big recommend Citizen X, a movie that came out on HBO back in 1995, Stephen Ray. It's about a serial killer in Russia, and they didn't have any kind of, they didn't have the infrastructure to investigate a serial killer and everything. Everybody in that movie decided, we're just going to use our real accents. And the reason is, you get a whole bunch of actors and you tell them, I want you to do a certain such and such accent. Everybody goes wild with it. And it's so completely like incongruous to each other and everything that, that becomes the distraction. Not that they're using their real voices, that they're just going off on these actory things. Like, and so I appreciate that too. Like, yeah, if Tom Cruise tried to pull off a German accent in this, I'm sure he would try. I would have spent a year in Germany with the best German, communicators in the world and everything, and it still would have come off weird. So
it's hard to do an accent well for the entire shoot of a movie, particularly like I just wrote on a video for Thunderbolts, and I made a crack about Florence Pugh's Russian lapsing into American, even though she's British. Because there are scenes where her accent is really good, and then there are scenes where it's not, and they were probably shot 5 months apart. It's a hard thing to do. So yeah, I agree with you. I think that was the right choice.
Yeah,
I agree.
Anyway, I like this movie despite Aaron. No, I think Aaron likes it too.
I do.
You just rather it be presented a different way.
Yeah, it's a separate. I think they're two separate things. Like you take the movie on its own terms and say this is a good movie. Like this is a really well done movie. And then I think there's another discussion worth having that you kind of talk about as well. And and maybe there's something there that the movie could have done different. But I think there's a way to separate that.
One thing I wanted to ask, and there may be no answer to this, but in my ignorance, watching this movie, I wondered: is the fact that the Germans referred to these areas as districts, is that why Hunger Games calls them districts? Is it trying to evoke that kind of?
I think that's just what they came up with to divide the areas and everything. It's just it's just a common term or whatever. Oh, Josh says I mispronounced incongruous. I'm sorry that I couldn't say all the words correctly on a live setting, Josh. I was incongruous. Is that good? You like that now?
No, it's incongruous.
That's what I said, and then it was called out. I agree. I said it. You know what? I said it. I knew it, and then it was put out there on chat for everybody to enjoy. And good on you, Josh. Does it feel good being superior? Anyway, Anyway, let's get on to our super secret double feature. I'm just kidding, Josh, of course.
I'll go ahead and kick us off. This is I think a fairly recent movie, 2016, but I don't think a lot of people got around to seeing it. But it also deals with the attempted assassination of a war leader during the time. It is Anthropoid. This stars Jamie Dornan and Cillian Murphy as two people of the resistance who are trying to, kill this world leader. And it just reminded me a lot of this movie. It kind of is a slow start, setting up the exposition, setting up who these people are, setting up what they're trying to do. But man, the end is, as they attempt this assassination, is so well done and so tense. I highly recommend it. I believe it is also based on a true story as well of that attempted assassination.
It is. I small recommended this on the previous podcast. This was something that made me realize Jamie Dornan was actually a really great actor. And there is a multi-story gun battle in this movie, maybe the climax. I don't quite remember it super well. That is astonishing. Yeah. So yeah, I remember seeing this and liking it and recommending it. So that's a good call, definitely. Yep. The one I'm not giving you, but the one that I think would be on the nose, too on the nose for me to actually give you, would be The Dirty Dozen, where they actually put together a band of ragtag, I think they're even prisoners, and send them on a mission to try and kill Hitler. But there's one movie I kept thinking of and how it made me feel, and this movie was making me feel the same way, and that's Argo, Best Picture winner from Ben Affleck, where there is an operation that few people know about, and the tension starts with the opening scene and really never lets up until the end. And so, yeah, I would put you through the ringer twice if I were scheduling this double feature. And when you leave, you're gonna need a nap.
But Jeremy, Argo's not Argo's not good because it didn't follow the exact story, and
Yeah, that guy wasn't actually a good
and
person.
He was terrible.
It downplayed the Canadian influence in that operation, so you can't.
That guy was a real jerk, man. That
Yeah,
guy was
he
a real
was.
jerk.
He was absolutely. I hate
He's
it.
a
Hate
bad
it so
father.
much. Yeah. There's a good one in the chat. Don't mean to just pick on one because there's several of them, but Flyboy said Conspiracy, which is another movie. If you guys haven't seen, great movie. Also has Kenneth Branagh in it, but it's about how all these different factions of Germans met together to figure out what they were gonna do about the Jews and everything. And so like that's a really, really good and stunning movie. It's like your jaw is gonna drop when you watch if that's the first time you've seen it.
And is the second movie in the Kenneth Branagh plays a Nazi trilogy, the first being Swing Kids.
So yes, of course, Swing Kids. That needs to be a triple feature, like pronto. We start with Swing Kids, or maybe we end it with Swing Kids.
Who knows? Who knows?
I don't know. That would be amazing. All right, let's go on to what our homework is for next week, which is we're going to be back on Tuesday next week. Jeremy, I believe it's your turn. What are you presenting for us?
I have been, since the inception of Recotopia, I have been wanting to big recommend this movie, and it has not been available on streaming until like 3 weeks ago. And that is Danny Boyle's Sunshine. This is a sci-fi movie about a Hail Mary of a mission to revive the dying sun. And the astronauts encounter a long lost ship with a distress signal, and mysterious things happen. This is a stacked cast. You've got Cillian Murphy, Rose Byrne, Michelle Yeoh, Chris Evans, Benedict Wong, Cliff Curtis, Mark Strong. And it's one of my favorite movies, and I haven't been able to see it in probably 5 or 6 years. So I'm very excited to get back to it personally. This is Alex Garland written. And we know him as a sci-fi director. Well, he's not doing pure sci-fi anymore, but he was a sci-fi guy heavy in his early career. So yeah,
and
Sunshine.
Danny Boyle.
Hulu,
Danny Boyle
and
directed
Disney Plus. Sorry, I keep interrupting you.
No, Danny Boyle directed it. It's one of those kind of special experiences for me too, because I was in New York when this movie came out. I went to a theater called The Sunshine that played this movie, and Danny Boyle did a Q&A afterwards. So it was really cool. He didn't stay long, but it was still fun
That is cool.
and everything. So it'd be good to revisit this. I don't think I've seen it since it came out. So this will be like watching it again. I mean, watching it for the first time or whatever. But where did you say I was interrupting you as well? Where were you saying that you can find this?
It's on Hulu and Disney Plus, which I read yesterday will merge in 2026, and Hulu's going to go away, and it'll just have Disney Plus will just have all the content that
it will have. Disney Plus will have everything that has ever been created on the earth in probably 10 years.
Well, they just announced the ESPN dedicated service too, didn't they? So are they merging that into? I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, ESPN bought some of the NFL, which to me, there's so many like weird conflicts of interest with ESPN buying the NFL. They have a betting site. They have all these different things that a news organization shouldn't have, but that's the life we live these days, folks.
I told my wife that Hulu was going away and it was going to merge with Disney Plus, and she said, "Well, how much will they jack up the price?"
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. It looks like we have time for one question. So let's see here. In light of Freddy versus Jason or the Batman versus Alien/Predators comics, what two famous movie characters would you like to see facing off in a crossover film? I don't know what kind of scenario you'd put these two in, but Sherlock Holmes and Hercule Poirot would be an interesting versus to me. Maybe who can solve the same crime faster, or maybe one of them themselves commits a murder or something. You take one of your beloved heroes and turn them into a murderer like you did with Phelps and Mission Impossible. you know, that type of thing. I don't know, but I think it would be cool to have them kind of verses, and maybe they just sort of, you know, the Hollywood way would be combine them at the end. They combine their talents together by the end of it and solve the crime or whatever. So that's who I want to do.
That's a cool idea. I like that. I think I'm going to put Jason Bourne and James Bond in a movie together because they go about things in different ways. You know, Bond is more suave and fast cars and gadgets, and Bourne is like, I'm going to punch you in the face until your nose breaks into 1,000 pieces. And so I think they would be a kind of an odd couple. Be the original Odd Couple. If they were paired up on a mission together. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Indiana Jones and Lara Croft. Might make for an interesting crossover. Maybe throw in National Treasure. You know,
and Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, might as well. And the other one I thought of was like a cooking crossover with Carl Casper from Chef and Adam Jones, which was the Bradley Cooper, right? What was that one called?
The flambe burnt.
Yeah, burnt. Thank you. You got there.
I got there.
So those two going head to head as well would be a lot of fun. So yeah.
Over in the chat, let's see, what do we have here?
Flame, flambe, burn. Got it.
That's how my brain works. That's how my brain works all the time.
That's great.
Let's see. I thought I saw one other one, but I don't know what it is. Anyway, over in the chat we have the Pink Panther versus Columbo. That'd be fun. That'd be a lot of fun. I'm down with that already. Slab says maybe not characters but movies. Mix Hunger Games with Alive. Oh, that's that would be gross. Tatsu says Dr. Manhattan and God from the show Preacher. JC Davis says Indiana Jones versus Lara Croft versus National Treasure versus Uncharted, and also Sonic the Hedgehog. If you need to put Sonic the Hedgehog in there. Yes. Josh says Edward Scissorhands and Freddy Krueger. I'd like to see that. One's a pacifist too. That's not gonna last long probably, but I'd pay to watch it. Castro says Tron and Neo from the Matrix. And then let's see. Jason Statham and Sam Neill, but my couch wouldn't survive that. I don't know what that means. Anyway, that's going to do it for this week. Once again, chat, thanks for coming out and watching us today. We appreciate you very much, even when you're criticizing us and taking the piss, as Josh said. But appreciate it very much. Next week is Sunshine. It is going to be back on the Tuesday regular time. So we will see you then. We'll see you next time. See ya.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Waxing on and off.